Imagine watching your sister fight for every single breath, doctors whispering that she might not make it through the night. That's the terrifying reality Tammy Slaton's family faced when her lungs gave out and her body collapsed under the pressure of years of obesity. Just one day after deciding to check into a weight loss rehab center, Tammy found herself hooked to a ventilator, drifting into a medically induced coma while her loved ones prepared themselves for the unthinkable. It wasn't part of a storyline. It wasn't scripted, it was life or death. And against every odd, Tammy clawed her way back. The question isn't just how she survived, but what she had to sacrifice, endure, and conquer to still be standing. Today. For 2 endless days, Amanda and the rest of the Slaton family lived in suspended silence. Doctors doubted Tammy would open her eyes again. They saw the damage, they saw the numbers, and they saw the weight of a battle that had nearly crushed her. But then came the miracle. Tammy stirred, blinked through tears, and showed her family that she wasn't finished yet. That moment wasn't just relief, it was a rebirth. From there, every pound she lost carried a deeper meaning. It wasn't vanity, it was survival. She dropped more than 500 pounds, but what no one outside her family saw was how long, how messy, and how grueling the process really was. Years of failed attempts, painful medical interventions, endless emotional spirals, and finally, a decision that she couldn't run from anymore. By 2025, when Tammy underwent skin removal surgery, her body told a completely different story. She was unrecognizable, not just thinner, but freer, lighter, like she had been given a second chance to exist. Amy, her younger sister, had a parallel battle of her own. While Tammy fought to breathe, Amy fought to live long enough to become the mother she always dreamed of being. Behind the cameras, she endured high blood pressure, diabetes, thyroid disease, and asthma. Her body was fighting her from every angle, but her heart never gave up. She wanted to raise children, not excuses. She wanted to prove that she could change, not just for herself, but for the little ones who would look up at her and call her mom. And after years of struggle, Amy did it. She shed more than 150 pounds, survived grueling health setbacks, and gave birth to 3 beautiful boys. But weight loss didn't fix everything. It never does. Because while the show focused on scales, calories, and surgeries, the real story was in the shadows, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, and the devastating personal tragedies that could never be summed up in a number. In 2023, Amy's marriage shattered. After years of trying to hold her home together, she finally admitted what she had been hiding. Behind closed doors, there was no love left, no partnership, only pain. Michael Halterman, the man she once trusted, had turned their home into a battlefield. Court documents exposed, screaming arguments, things thrown across rooms, and moments of fear so heavy that Amy filed for emergency protective orders to keep her and her children safe. This wasn't the picture-perfect afterstory TLC sold. This was real, raw survival again. By April, shocking accusations filled court papers. Michael's roughness with the children, grabbing them by the arms too hard, failing to support Amy financially, refusing to take responsibility for their home or family. He was unemployed, absent, unwilling. And Amy had to say the words out loud. What she endured wasn't just neglect, it was abuse. By December, she admitted it publicly. There was no love, no kindness, no help, only mental abuse. And in her breaking point, when she needed formula for their baby, and Michael refused to return her bank card, Amy realized it was over for good. That moment of clarity, devastating as it was, freed her. Divorce wasn't just the end of a marriage, it was the beginning of her finally putting herself and her children first. But heartbreak didn't just fall on Amy's shoulders. Tammy, too, faced a crushing loss that no amount of weight loss or surgery could prepare her for. Caleb Willingham, her husband. Her brief but fierce love died in July 2023 at just 40 years old. Their love story had been fast, intense, almost reckless. They met in a rehab facility, where brokenness met brokenness, and in just 3 weeks, he had proposed. Tammy said yes despite her family's unease, and by November 2022, they were married in the very place that had saved her life. For a time, she glowed. For a time, love felt like salvation, but even that story cracked. By May 2023, whispers emerged that Caleb had stopped following his diet, stopped fighting, stopped trying. Arguments boiled over, and separation followed, and then death, a love lost before it ever really had the chance to grow. Tammy clung to what little she had left of him, jewelry made from his ashes. A necklace shaped like a musical note, a ring that pulsed with memories every time her hand Brushed it. He's going to live on forever, she told people. She reached for that necklace every day, not because it replaced him, but because it reminded her that even in loss, love had existed. That, too, was survival. And while the outside world debated diets, pounds lost, and scandals, the sisters kept moving forward. Amy, trembling but determined, stepped into a plastic surgeon's office in Lexington, Kentucky. She never thought she'd get this far. The posters of toned bodies and glowing smiles seemed almost surreal. Her own reflection had been a prison for years, trapping her in sagging skin that reminded her daily of the battle she'd fought. But now, she wanted more. Not freedom, to feel like herself, to walk with her head high, to show her children what confidence looked like. Dr. Ramirez walked her through every detail: arm lifts, thigh lifts, tummy tuck. Recovery wouldn't be easy, it never was. But Tammy, sipping iced coffee, teased her with love. You'll be strutting like Beyoncé in no time. For the first time in a long time, Amy believed it. When the consultation ended, the decision was clear. This wasn't about surgery. It was about reclaiming herself. And just when it seemed like their lives couldn't get more surreal, the sisters decided to do something no one expected. They packed their bags, wrestled their nerves, and boarded a plane to London. For two women, who had spent most of their lives trapped by weight, fear, and criticism, stepping into a foreign country wasn't just a trip, it was liberation. Tammy joked about finding the best fish and chips. Amy panicked over driving on the wrong side of the road. Their luggage was too heavy, their kids too restless, Tammy too fascinated with airplane games, Amy too clumsy to keep Coke from spilling. But when the plane touched down in London, none of that mattered. The sisters had crossed an ocean, carrying their laughter, their scars, and their relentless spirit with them. Standing outside Heathrow Airport in the drizzle, Tammy declared, "London, baby." For once, their lives weren't just about survival. They were about adventure, and that, perhaps, was the most powerful victory of all. But the real test was still waiting back home. Back in Kentucky, reality waited like a shadow. Amy and Tammy knew that no matter how many trips, surgeries, or milestones they reached, the scale was always there, a silent judge. And today, that judgment felt heavier than ever. The living room was filled with a nervous kind of energy, sunlight pouring in like a spotlight. Tammy paced the floor, twisting the hem of her blouse. Amy clutched her tea like a shield. Neither of them wanted to step onto that little machine in the corner, but both of them knew they had to. The win wasn't just about numbers. It was about everything they had endured, everything they had survived, and everything they were still chasing. Tammy's turn came first. She inhaled deeply, her chest trembling, and placed her foot on the scale. The numbers blinked and hesitated, taunting her. Amy counted softly, like a coach whispering encouragement. 3, 2, 1, and then there it was. Tammy had lost 15 more pounds. For most people, that number might not sound like much, but for Tammy, every single pound represented sweat, tears, surgeries, recovery, and the constant decision not to give up when giving up seemed easier. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Her legs nearly buckled. Amy caught her before she fell and whispered, "You did it. T, you really did it." For Tammy, it wasn't just about weight. It was about proving to herself that she still had the power to change her own story. Then came Amy's turn. Her hands shook as she stepped forward, heart racing harder than Tammy's. This time, it wasn't about being the little sister. It wasn't about cheering from the sidelines. It was about proving to herself that all the sacrifices she made, sleepless nights with the boys, painful workouts, endless medical tests, were worth it. The number settled. 22 pounds gone. Amy gasped and covered her mouth. Relief and joy collided in her chest. For once, she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Tammy clapped and hugged her tight, tears wetting both their faces. They laughed, they cried, they remembered every late-night meal prep session, every salad instead of fast food, every single moment they chose to fight instead of surrender. That weigh-in was more than a victory. It was validation. The world might doubt them, the world might mock them, but together, they were unstoppable. And that's what makes their story impossible to look away from. It isn't just about pounds lost or scandals splashed across tabloids. It's about two sisters who refused to die in silence, who turned pain into purpose, and who stood by each other, even when the world tried to tear them apart. Think about it, Tammy, once on the edge of death, now living proof that change is possible. Amy, once trapped in an abusive marriage, now raising her children with strength and showing them what resilience looks like. Together, they've faced hospitals, heartbreak, funerals, divorces, surgeries, public humiliation, and the constant weight of being judged. And still they stand. That night, after the weigh-in, both sisters lay in their beds in quiet reflection. For once, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt full. Full of pride, of possibility, of something they hadn't felt in years. Hope. Tammy stared at the ceiling, replaying the number over and over in her mind. Feeling a surge of strength she hadn't felt since before the ventilator. Amy clutched her phone, scrolling through pictures of her kids, whispering promises to herself that she would keep fighting, for them and for her. They both knew this was just the beginning, but that was the beauty of it. The road stretched out ahead of them, and for the first time, they weren't afraid of how long or how hard it might be. They were ready. Because here's the truth most people miss. Amy and Tammy Slaton's story isn't about weight. It's about willpower. It's about surviving the kind of pain that doesn't always show up on a scale. It's about waking up every day and choosing to keep going even when it would be easier not to. And maybe that's why people can't stop watching. It's not the drama, the chaos, or even the transformations. It's the raw reminder that no matter how broken you are, no matter how much the world doubts you, there's always a way forward if you fight for it. So when you think of Tammy nearly losing her life in that hospital bed, or Amy walking away from a toxic marriage, don't just think about the tragedy. Think about the courage it took to keep moving. Think about the laughter they still share, the adventures they still chase. The children who will grow up watching their mother prove that strength doesn't come from never falling, it comes from standing back up. Their journey isn't over. It's still unfolding, full of twists, setbacks, and triumphs that no one can predict. But one thing is certain. The Slaton sisters aren't done surprising the world. Not by a long shot. And if you've made it this far, you've already seen why. Every setback they've endured could have been the end of their story, but instead, it became a new beginning. And that's the lesson hidden inside their reality TV chaos. Behind the cameras, behind the scandals, behind the laughter, there's something raw and universal. A reminder that if they can fight for another chance, so can you. So stick around, because the Slaton sisters' story is still being written, and the next chapter might just be the most shocking one yet.